To stop costs you time. To drive on costs much more.
One nod of the head, you're off the road.
And if you've ever doubted that, this test will drive it home.
You don't have to wear them real tight.
It begins with two St. Cloud State University students, Andy Brown and Mary Green.
When you are moving, then we will see a spike on a graph.
A nurse will monitor their sleep patterns for a week.
We're going to give you a little test based upon that highway up in front of you.
Then, the Minnesota Highway Safety Center tests their driving abilities after a week of normal sleep.
She's quick.
In a simulator,
Much better than average.
then later,
So you start on the right side.
on a special driving course.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
Dimension sets up cameras inside both cars
Andy, you were slow on your target speed.
and along the course, where experts will rate how willing Andy and Mary are to take risks
Whoa, were you lucky, Mary?
and how quickly they react to simulated hazards. Both Andy and Mary do well.
That was great. I'm sorry.
They hit the hazards
Andy, your target speed is 35.
only at the highest speeds.
We just had a collision. Major property damage. We had a total failure. You went right underneath that semi-truck that was blocking the center lane.
24 hours later, Andy and Mary will be totally different drivers. That's because between now and then, they won't sleep.
This is torture.
The idea is for Andy and Mary to imitate, under carefully controlled circumstances, students who pull all-nighters, cramming for finals, and then drive hours home to parents who hope they make it.
Let's play cards. Okay, let's play spades. Hey, Andy.
Yes.
Are you tired?
No, not really.
Leave me alone. I just want sleep for 1 hour. Come on, Mary, wake up.
Daybreak brings day 2 of the test. This time, techs from the Minnesota Regional Sleep Disorder Center wire up Andy and Mary.
I'm sorry, I just have to press a little bit.
Electrodes on their heads read brain activity, electrodes near their eyes
Slowly blink your eyes 5 times.
and on their chin detect movement and indicate whether they've actually fallen asleep.
Bite down with your teeth for me. Again. Great.
How are you feeling right now?
Mostly catatonic.
All these people are annoying to me.
I definitely wouldn't want to be on a road like this.
You ready?
In a few minutes, we'll show you how they do when they go back on the road. Athletic and energetic, you might think if anyone can beat the fatigue, it would be Mary. A sleep center nurse called her Super Kid, which is exactly what Darla Drentlaw used to call her daughter Katie.
She just fell asleep.
Well, we don't have a real good way and haven't until now. And so this is really, we've said it's groundbreaking preliminary research. It's a demonstration project at this point, but nobody's done this before. We're going to look at how does sleep affect these two very different personalities. They, I suspect, have very different ingrained sleep patterns as well. Andy's more of a night owl, and he's given me his sleep logs. He's been wearing an activity monitor all week long so that we'll actually be able to get hardcore data. Mary says she's better in the morning and not so much of a night owl. So we also have 2 students who have a bit different sleep patterns as well.
Most teenagers are doing the correct things. They're good kids. It's only the 10%, 15% of our teenage population that are making poor choices. 85% of the students are making really good choices. They're not drinking and driving. They really are pretty safe drivers, but they have no indication of how sleep deprivation affects their driving.
Sleep deprivation is cumulative, and at some point in time, no matter how much you want to stay awake, no matter how athletic you are, no matter how driven you are, sleep will eventually take over. People often do not perceive that they are asleep.
Did I hit that cone?
We have a total and complete failure.
And that is what is one of the most distressing aspects of fall asleep motor vehicle crashes, is that many people, as they are falling asleep, have no appreciation of the fact that they are about to fall asleep.
I think Andy was very tired. I think he saw this as a challenge. I think this was the end of the marathon for him. And so he was actually pushing himself. He was very driven to drive well. Watching Andy drive yesterday, he was a very relaxed driver. When he was well rested, left arm up on the, on the window, driving with one hand and doing a fairly good job, or actually a very good job. Today, he started out his first couple of passes the same way and immediately switched to being a two-handed driver. What I also saw today was much more braking than he did yesterday, and I think yesterday he was judging his safe speed better and not needing to use the brakes. I think his speed was much higher, and then if you'll notice when he came through the lights, he always slowed down. He estimated his speed at somewhere around 29. Most of the time I saw it at something a little less than that. His target best safe speed he picked at somewhere right 31 to 32 is what he could handle those cones, and he never did that.
Connie asked him, "Did you feel that you were awake?" He said yes. We had an artificial situation, and then because of the artificiality, he could do this. If he was going to stay awake, this was the best place that he could have stayed awake. He knew people were watching. He had lots of things that he could think about, and that's what he did to try to stay awake. But when Andy would have fallen asleep, he would have crashed. That's what would have happened. We saw that in the simulator. He did well, and then all of a sudden he did nothing, which is the kind of crash you see when people fall asleep. How much do you think you varied between 28 and 30 in each pass through the evasive?
I'd say I stuck mostly towards 28.
Okay.
Coasted at 30 coming up, but as I looked at the thing as I passed through, it was mostly 28.
Okay. Is there any reason you went to two-hand steering?
Easier to control it, especially on the tight corners that I wasn't slowing down much for.
If we weren't doing this experiment, would you have tried to drive?
At this level of sleep, no.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure.
One night of sleep deprivation is as impairing behind the wheel as a legally intoxicated blood alcohol level. Andy thought he was okay. Probably best characterized as being in the twilight zone, appearing to be awake, but clearly not processing environmental information adequately or accurately. An important fact is that 50% of people who fall asleep and have car crashes report not having felt sleepy at all immediately prior to the falling asleep episode. So the perception of being sleepy while driving is very inexact.
I'm ready to rock and roll. Time to party.
committed, no matter how dedicated, no matter how athletically fit, no matter how much someone wants to stay awake, sleep will eventually take over.
Here we go. We had total failure right through it. Bring that vehicle into the center, please.
It was fine, then I got tired, I kept falling asleep.
This is at 10:45 when she was clearly continuing to drive the automobile, and notice we have 25 seconds of well-developed stage 1 sleep. Absolutely no evidence of wakefulness at all, slow rolling eye movements, and the characteristic EEG pattern of stage 1 sleep. So she's awake enough to drive the car, but she is not physiologically awake.
Left. We're supposed to do that? Huh?
What we saw is the test had to be terminated because she fell asleep behind the wheel, and if she were a college student driving home after finals, she would have been off the road, conceivably dead, with or without a car full of innocent people along with her.
I'm tired.
What we observed, we saw behavior change, particularly in Mary. So we saw her irritability soar, and we saw her ability to handle stress change very much, evidenced by the fact that, tears, all of those things that happen when we do sleep deprive someone. And when someone is sleep deprived, you just don't handle that stress as well. Andy was a bit more stoic. Andy was a bit more stoic to begin with. We didn't quite see as much. What I did see in Andy, though, is much more complaining during the night, particularly to this morning, taking a look at his watch as the sun was coming up and going, 7 more hours. A lot of other somatic sort of things. My stomach hurts, my head aches, which may be real, but also we notice those things more when we're not well rested.
50% of people who have fall asleep crashes, when asked afterwards, did not perceive that they were sleepy immediately prior to the crash.
It's the worst thing ever. You wish you'd stop crying, You wish it was a dream. You wish it was just not true. We lost her. And from then, my life, my marriage, my family, my friends were just all so confused.
I was shocked. Not knowing what to do, not believing that it could actually happen, because she probably died on one of the best days of her life. She had an opportunity to go down to the Drake Relays, which is the oldest track and field meet in the United States. She was able to run on the track. She was able to sign a Division I full ride scholarship to a school that she wanted to go to.
We called her Super Katie. She wanted to do everything, but there just wasn't enough time. A kid thinks they can do anything, and your body needs to have the rest. She should have stayed and slept. If you're tired, stop. Take a break. Call home. Tell them I'm tired. I can't make it. I'm staying here. It hurts so many people, your whole family. Stop and think and rest. It just hurts so bad. I just miss her a lot.
What would you give to see her?
My whole life.